Gene Hackman, a Hollywood legend, vanished into the quiet abyss of death. No final words, no suspects, no crime scene. Just a mystery swallowed by the desert. His wife, Betsy Arakawa, the only keeper of his secrets, followed him soon after. Coincidence or conspiracy? Every trace of Hackman's legacy, his whispers, his footsteps, has been erased, buried beneath rumors, unseen poisons, and the silent puppeteers of Hollywood's darkest corridors. Was it fate, or the work of unseen hands pulling strings behind the golden curtain? As the New Mexico desert holds its secrets, the truth seeps away like blood in the sand. Gene Hackman's death wasn't just the end of a life. It was the beginning of Hollywood's darkest, most whispered legend. In the heart of the New Mexico desert lay Los Teros, a forgotten village, a haven for those who sought to disappear. For Hackman, a two-time Oscar winner, this was more than just a retreat. It was his final refuge, a world far removed from the suffocating glare of Hollywood's relentless gaze. Alongside his wife, Betsy Arakawa, he built a sanctuary where no cameras followed, no reporters pried. But even in isolation, the past has a way of catching up. And in the silence of the desert, secrets festered, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Tell us, what was the first Gene Hackman movie that caught your attention? If you're intrigued by the mystery surrounding his life and legacy, hit like, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Now, let's uncover the untold stories of the legendary Gene Hackman. By the 2010s, Gene Hackman had vanished from the public eye. No interviews, no new projects, just a quiet life with Betsy, the woman who had been his unwavering companion since their marriage. Their two-story wooden house stood alone, gazing over the vast, empty grasslands, a fortress not of walls or cameras, but of silence, shielding them from the world they had left behind. The only thing separating them from the outside world was an unbreakable silence, so deep it smothered every rumor before it could take shape. In Los Teros, Gene Hackman was more myth than man. Locals rarely saw him, and when they did, it was fleeting. A polite nod at the store before he disappeared once more. Betsy was no different. They moved like ghosts in their own world, gliding past each other in quiet understanding, their lives woven together in whispers and shadows. But that peaceful solitude turned into an eerie void when authorities discovered both Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, lifeless in the very home that had shielded them from the world. No broken locks, no shattered windows, no struggle, just an undisturbed silence. Hackman sat in his usual wooden chair by the living room window, book in hand, as if frozen in time. Betsy lay nearby, her head resting gently on the armrest, their small dog curled at their feet, unmoving. It was as if they had simply drifted into an endless sleep. No strange scents lingered in the air. No furniture was out of place. Only an unnatural stillness, as if the house itself had stopped breathing at the exact moment they did. What unsettled investigators most was the haunting stillness of it all. No struggle, no forced entry, no disruption. Just Gene, Betsy, and their small dog, frozen in the quiet life they had embraced. The Santa Fe police were baffled, calling it an enigma beyond explanation. Initial suspicions of a break-in or accident faded quickly. No wounds, no toxins, no external cause, just an eerie, undisturbed farewell. It was as if the silence of Los Teros had simply claimed them, whisking them away without a trace, without a sound. But this silence had never felt so ominous. Beneath its perfect stillness lay a mystery begging to be uncovered. As whispers spread through Santa Fe, the quiet town of Los Teros could no longer keep its secrets. Then came Rios, the forgotten outcast, the man who had once faded into silence, now speaking up. The news of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths didn't stay buried in the desert for long. It slipped past the dry, sun-baked lands of Los Teros, reaching far beyond Santa Fe, carrying with it a chilling question. Was their passing truly peaceful, or had something unseen been lurking in the shadows all along? The first murmurs swept across the desert, carried by the wind into roadside cafes, dusty newsstands, and bustling weekend markets where gossip thrived. But this time, it wasn't just another passing tale. It was Gene Hackman's name on everyone's lips. A legend who had once commanded Hollywood's brightest spotlight was now the center of a mystery that no one could explain. No one could pinpoint where the first whispers began. Maybe a coroner slipping a word too many, or a neighbor catching a glimpse of flashing police lights through a curtain. But once spoken, the rumors spread like wildfire, carried by the unyielding desert wind. In the vast, barren expanse of New Mexico, speculation took shape, distilling into three unsettling theories: murder, a break-in gone wrong, or a silent, undetected gas leak. For those who had spent years in Santa Fe or Los Teros, the idea of the desert swallowing lives without a trace was nothing new. Since the 1970s, New Mexico had been a land of unexplained vanishings. Abandoned homes left mid-meal, bodies discovered without a mark yet frozen in terror. The desert carried secrets, ones people preferred to forget. So when Gene Hackman's name became part of that legacy, the whispers took a darker turn. What if his death wasn't just an end, but another chapter in the desert's long, eerie history? As the media frenzy grew, whispers of murder took hold. It started with a lone blog post, but soon headlines from TMZ to the New York Times echoed the same chilling question. Had Gene Hackman been killed in his own home? At over 90 years old, no one expected the legendary actor to become the center of a mystery gripping the nation. Santa Fe had seen reporters before, but this time, their presence felt different. Gone were the usual travel pieces and restaurant reviews. Now, the air was thick with intrigue. The headlines told a haunting story. Gene Hackman, Betsy Arakawa, and their loyal dog. 3 lives lost in a home untouched by violence, without a single sign of struggle. The Santa Fe police were forced to hold their first press conference later that afternoon, amidst the continuous flashes of cameras. The police spokesperson stood behind the wooden podium, his voice calm but firm. No signs of forced entry, no obvious injuries, no external trauma. The brief statement cut through all the theories like a knife, but it was that very decisiveness that made people more suspicious. If no one had broken in, then how could it be that no one harmed them? Gene and Betsy, 2 healthy individuals living peacefully in that quiet space, suddenly died by accident. Rumors spread. Some spoke of an invisible intruder, one who silently infiltrates homes in the desert without leaving a trace. Others mentioned ancient curses tied to the land of Los Teros, once a focal point for rituals that no one dared name. Then, the theory of a gas leak quietly killing each person in silence became the most plausible explanation so far, regardless of which theory was believed. No one can deny that Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, two people who spent their lives avoiding the noise and rumors of society, inadvertently became the center of an unstoppable storm of gossip in the endless desert of New Mexico. The whispers continue to echo as if someone or something has never truly left. As the initial theories of a break-in or murder faded, the most plausible explanation that was mentioned was poisoning, specifically carbon monoxide. The invisible killer had taken the lives of many residents in remote areas, much like Los Teros. It was the explanation everyone nodded to before a silent leak invaded every room, drowning Gene Hackman, Betsy Arakawa, and their small dog in eternal sleep, with no cries for help, no signs of struggle or panic. The Santa Fe Police Department's investigation team and environmental experts were urgently called in. The most advanced gas detection equipment was brought into Gene Hackman's small wooden house, scanning every corner, from the heating system and gas stove to the hot water pipes. They inspected everything carefully. Backup generators are a common cause of carbon monoxide poisoning in remote rural areas, but strangely, everything appeared nearly perfect. The gas stove, the main suspect, had only a tiny leak in the gas supply pipe connection. However, the amount of gas released was insignificant. Certainly not enough to pose a danger or accumulate in the open space of Hackman's cozy kitchen. The heating system was also thoroughly checked. Every pipe was inspected with thermal cameras to detect any cracks that might allow toxic gas into the house. The results showed nothing unusual. All equipment adhered to installation standards and regular inspections. Minor faults in the hot water pipe and gas connections were entirely unrelated to the risk of carbon monoxide. The real shock came late in the afternoon when the preliminary autopsy report was sent to the chief investigator's office. No traces of carbon monoxide were found in the bodies of Gene Hackman or Betsy Arakawa. Blood samples, lung fluids, brain tissue, everything was clean, with no signs of gas poisoning. The most reliable theory, the explanation everyone had clung to, suddenly collapsed. That very evening, a press release from the New Mexico authorities was issued, stating that no carbon monoxide was detected and no environmental toxins were found at levels dangerous to human health. This news sparked the simmering speculations on social media. If it wasn't gas, then what really happened inside that small house in the desert? New theories quickly emerged. Could they have been poisoned by another, more potent toxin? One so sophisticated it bypassed standard tests? Or was it a slow process? A poison slowly absorbed through food or drink, causing both of them to disappear at once, like a curse that had been destined. Some even mentioned biological or chemical agents used in high-level assassinations, capable of self-destruction. After completing their task, they leave the scene clean, like a blank sheet of paper. From Los Teros, where the sunset paints the distant Rocky Mountains, people read conspiracy theory blogs, constantly asking, if it wasn't carbon monoxide, then what was it? And that question became like a new curse haunting the public. In the following days, as more theories grew increasingly bizarre and the truth remained buried somewhere in the silent desert winds. Gene Hackman is a name that needs no introduction. He was not just an actor, but a living legend, a symbol of Hollywood's artistic richness, where true talent could surpass flashy gimmicks. From The French Connection to Unforgiven, each of Hackman's roles is etched into the public consciousness. But behind the glamour of his Oscar-winning career lies a web of heavy secrets that few dare to touch. In the 70s and 80s, as Hackman ruled Hollywood, he also saw its hidden underbelly, untouched by the media. This was an era of covert parties, shady deals, and untold truths. Whispers swirled that Hackman, with his sharp mind and watchful eye, caught every secret. He knew all about bribery, backstage favors, and even unexplained disappearances that stayed buried in the shadows. When news of Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's sudden departure hit the headlines, former colleagues were asked to share their thoughts. But instead of offering condolences or fond memories, most fell silent. Even those who had worked alongside Hackman on legendary projects, directors who once praised him as a golden partner, all refused to comment on the situation. The collective silence sent a shiver through the public, sparking a new theory. Hackman hadn't just escaped Hollywood's glare by retreating to New Mexico. Perhaps the secrets he carried had become too heavy, driving him to flee before the past caught up with him. Some conspiracy sites even hinted at the Hollywood curse, a hidden roster of stars who knew too much and met untimely, mysterious ends. Hackman, having seen it all, might have been the latest casualty of that curse, as the secrets of the past stayed unresolved and hidden forces quietly persisted. His departure became a mysterious bridge between Hollywood's glittering facade and its dark underworld, where the truth always hid behind the velvet curtain of the film capital. If Gene Hackman represented both the brilliance and darkness of Hollywood, Betsy Arakawa was his complete opposite. After becoming his partner, Betsy chose to step away from the spotlight, living quietly in the background like a shadow. Yet the more she withdrew, the more enigmatic that shadow became. Once a talented piano artist, Betsy nearly vanished from the public eye after marrying Hackman. Old friends remembered her as a gentle, reserved woman, always smiling softly when speaking of her legendary husband. But beneath those smiles lay a subtle unease, one that only a few close friends truly understood. Months before their discovery, Betsy confided in an old friend over the phone, saying she felt someone was watching her. Strange noises at night, cryptic messages from unknown senders, and an overwhelming, unprovable anxiety haunted her every day. When advised to contact the police, Betsy simply smiled weakly and said, "I'm just being silly. If you're surprised by the unsolved story of Gene Hackman, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Now let's dive back into this mysterious tale. Even stranger, just hours after the news broke, an anonymous call was made to the Santa Fe Police Department. A soft, trembling, middle-aged woman's voice revealed only one detail. Betsy wrote a letter to a friend in California. It was her final confession, yet that letter was never found. From there, speculation grew. Some suggested Betsy had been involved in a complex financial relationship before marrying Hackman, one she had worked to conceal for decades. Others whispered of a secret connection with powerful figures, possibly the true cause of her irrational fear. Betsy Arakawa, the woman behind Gene Hackman's spotlight, might hold the final key to unlocking all the mysteries. But now she has slipped into silence, taking her secrets with her into the New Mexico desert, where every confession is buried beneath the sands of time. On the day Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's bodies were discovered, the New Mexico desert seemed to hold its breath. Not because of the scorching heat or the sandstorms sweeping across the trails, but due to an unexplainable tension that hung in the air. A legend had died here, but what he left behind wasn't just a legacy of glory, it was a mystery as vast as the desert's endless horizon. When the initial forensic reports came in, the case grew even more perplexing. No signs of external force, no visible injuries, and no evidence of a break-in at Hackman's home. Carbon monoxide and other toxins were ruled out. Every clue that seemed to hint at the truth vanished like a mirage in the desert. After weeks of investigation, the Santa Fe police had to admit they couldn't pinpoint a cause for Gene Hackman and his wife's deaths. The case remained unsolved, with law enforcement seemingly acknowledging that some mysteries are beyond the reach of science or logic. The Hackman family chose silence, refusing all interview requests and rejecting any offers for press cooperation. Those who had been close to Gene, from former colleagues to New Mexico neighbors, also kept quiet. Hollywood, which had once hailed him as a living legend, now seemed to intentionally exclude Hackman's name from memorial broadcasts. His death had become a strange, unspoken taboo. In the wake of the silence, social media exploded with bizarre and growing conspiracy theories. Some claimed Gene and Betsy were victims of a perfectly orchestrated assassination or a flawlessly staged suicide. Others speculated they had been slowly poisoned over months with a deadly chemical designed to destroy. As the theories deepened, some forums even suggested a connection to secret organizations that had secretly controlled Hollywood for decades. These forces, they claimed, believed Hackman had unknowingly or deliberately uncovered fragments of Betsy's hidden fears, the strange anonymous calls, and the unsettling silence of those close to him. All these pieces seemed to intertwine, creating a haunting, though incomplete, picture. Gene Hackman's death wasn't merely the end of a star, but the birth of a dark new legend. An unsolved mystery where the brilliance of Hollywood faded into the dust of New Mexico. In its wake, millions of questions lingered in the desert sky, holding its breath, waiting for answers. No one can pinpoint the exact moment Gene Hackman's house became a part of the mysterious legend of Los Teros. But since the day he and Betsy Arakawa's bodies were found, the place was consumed by an eerie silence. It wasn't just the absence of people, but a feeling as if the very space was holding its breath, waiting for something too grand, too terrifying, and then never receiving an answer. Neighbors scattered across the harsh desert began whispering about what they had seen in the days leading up to the discovery. An elderly couple living nearly a mile from the Hackman home claimed to have seen strange blue lights flickering through the second-floor window. At first, they assumed it was just car headlights from the back trail, but the light didn't move or change. It remained still, as if casting light on a silent ritual that lasted nearly 10 minutes before abruptly vanishing. A horse rancher, who sometimes delivered hay to the Hackman home, remembered seeing Betsy a few days before the police arrived. She stood on the porch, staring blankly at the distant desert with an unsettlingly vacant expression. She didn't wave or respond to his greeting. She just stood there, as if listening to a sound that no one else could hear. After their initial statements, the Santa Fe police quietly withdrew from the case. No updates were given, no press releases issued. Once the case was temporarily closed, the silence grew even more unsettling. The Hackman family refused all contact, and those close to Gene throughout his life suddenly went silent, as if an invisible warning had been issued. On online forums, from Reddit to conspiracy blogs, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were no longer just the reclusive couple of Los Teros. They had become symbols of a darker side of Hollywood, where the stage lights never shine. Theories about the cost of knowing too many secrets were buried deep, waiting to be uncovered. Hackman's life, now shrouded in a fog of mystery, leaves behind his roles, Oscar statues, and past awards as little more than a thin mask concealing a deeper secret. His house still stands, uninhabited. No one dares sell, rent, or destroy it, as if it's become part of the legend itself. Every night, when the desert wind howls through the empty windows, whispers of untold secrets echo from somewhere far away. And though Gene Hackman has left this life, his story of standing too close to the truth will continue to haunt New Mexico. The darkness beneath the veneer of silence and the dry official statements from the Santa Fe police left broken pieces that would never fit together. A mysterious call at 2:37 a.m., about 48 hours before Hackman and Betsy's bodies were found, added to the enigma. The emergency hotline received an interrupted call from Hackman's landline. A woman's voice whispered just 5 words. They found out too late. The call abruptly ended. The police later confirmed that Betsy had made the call, but they couldn't explain why it was cut short or who she was speaking to. In the statement, the empty safe in Hackman's office was noted. It was a large safe that had never appeared in any previous asset inventories. The door was wide open, and inside, it was completely empty. No one knew what Hackman had kept in there, and there were no signs of a break-in. Down in the basement, a handwritten manuscript with scattered pages was found, a place Hackman rarely visited. The manuscript contained fragmented memories of Hollywood in the 70s and 80s, mentioning shady names, a club, desert meetings, and a red folder. It seemed Hackman had written this secret memoir for himself, or perhaps for someone brave enough to read it. The manuscript abruptly ended with the chilling line, "If they find out, no one will survive." The death of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa didn't just mark the end of 2 lives. It opened a new chapter in Hollywood's dark legend. After the incident, many conspiracy forums speculated that Hackman had unknowingly become involved in a secret society of filmmakers, moguls, and politicians in the post-Watergate era. He had escaped, but carried with him secrets that would never be revealed, spreading fear. At least 3 of Hackman's longtime friends, including a director who had worked with him on Mississippi Burning, quietly left Los Angeles after the police closed the case. None of them agreed to be interviewed, even when offered 6-figure sums. The haunted house remains to this day. Visitors to Hackman's old neighborhood claim to hear whispers at dawn, voices, perhaps Betsy's or Hackman's, echoing from the desert, disjointed phrases that are hard to understand, but always repeating one chilling line: "It's not safe here." Gene Hackman's legacy isn't just his Oscar statues or iconic roles, but the shadow he casts over Hollywood, where the truth is buried beneath the sands of New Mexico, a place where not everyone who knows too much survives to tell the story. Gene Hackman passed away in silence, but the aftershocks of the incident spread like a sandstorm, engulfing Hollywood. Betsy Arakawa, the final witness, followed soon after, leaving behind a chilling message: those who know too much have no way out. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a suicide. This was the price of the truth, where the stage lights never shine. Let us know what you think about the mysteries surrounding his life. Don't forget to hit like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below the video. See you in the next one.